Our next speaker is Francois Choquette. Good morning, sir.
Hi. Thank you for letting me speak. I live in Lake Elsinore. Just to start off with something positive here, I have interfaced with a lot of people in this building here on the second floor surveying, sixth floor planning, ninth floor geologists and all that, and they were all great. They all gave me very good service, lots of maps, everything was fairly priced, and I was impressed.
Thank you.
I just want to add a few things about the ordinance. There seems to be the feeling that picketing must be something...
Francois, this is for items that are not on the agenda, so if you kind of...
It's a general comment that I'd like to make about it. It's a Supreme Court ruling from Justice O'Connor in the Booth versus Barry case. She says, as a general matter, we have indicated that in public debate, our own citizens must tolerate insulting and even outrageous speech in order to provide adequate breathing space to the freedoms provided by the First Amendment. I think that's very important. You know, we don't want to get all bent out of shape just because somebody yells out an insult. Another thing, at the second to last meeting, I asked, I gave you a map, and I asked where I could protest on that map. I never got an answer for that. That'd be interested to know that. Also, Mr. Stone, who gave you the black PR document about Anonymous on the second meeting, I believe? You really trashed us pretty good. Mr. Tavaloni, you called me KKK, by the way. Did you get this in a meeting? Did you get this by mail? Did you verify any of these allegations against me and the others? Okay. I'm an aerospace engineer, never been arrested in my life. Also, what was the real reason for Ordinance 888, the emergency part of it? Was it because maybe Katie Holmes was scheduled to be there for purification rundown? That's where they force extremely high doses of vitamins that can damage your liver. They leave her in a sauna for 5 hours. Extremely dangerous stuff. Now, as soon as we found out that she was going to be there, immediately we saw this emergency ordinance. And then suddenly, after she was gone, there was no need for the emergency anymore. Can you just tell me? Was it because of Katie Holmes? Was it something else? Why was it? Why was it that it was an emergency? Very curious about that. Please?
This is your time to talk.
I'm done. Any answers?
This is your forum right now.
Okay. I said I'm done. I'm done speaking.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Choquette.
All right. Thank you.
Next speaker will be Julie Waltz.
I guess it's still morning, isn't it? Okay,
Good morning.
well, another good morning to you all. I just wanted to read you a little quote by Ronald Reagan. It says, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same." And I also want to show you something. And well, first I want to tell you that the Mormon that was protested, it was done by a sole activist protester at a Bellevue home of a Mormon who donated $50,000 to California Proposition 8. And here's a picture of that. That was just one protester, and there was no violence in that neighborhood. This was a residential protest. And then we have this protest. This was the This was a protest that was held at the John Tavaloni's home, Supervisor Tavaloni's home, and I must commend him because his comments were, "One thing I don't do is back down to intimidation," he said. "It closes my mind to their issues even more." So I commend him on that comment. And then there's another little protest, but I don't have a picture of it. It was in Riverside County in, where was it? It was in Marion Ashley's district. It was about the parliamentary training compound in a residential neighborhood. And those folks also protested, and there was no arrest, no violence or anything. And that was which I would assume be targeted picketing. And then there was also a protest about a jail being proposed in the town of Whitewater. And then that was in Mr. Wilson's district. And they also protested at the river in their neighborhood and at the Riviera Resort and Spa where the supervisor was kicking off his reelection. And once again, I do want to remind you, gentlemen, that you are elected and you're not anointed. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Walls. Doug Owens.
Hi, thank you. I'm going to thank you, Mr. Wilson, for suggesting a 6-month monitoring of the 884 enforcement. I also wanted to suggest that perhaps you consider expanding that to all law enforcement activities on Gilman Hot Springs Road to make sure that the sheriff doesn't overstep its bounds and, as you said, have difficulty interpreting the complexity of 884. And finally, I'd like to thank you, Ms. Walls, for your patient explanation of your interpretation of 884. Based on my reading of the case law, I think you were correct on most points. And I want to thank the board for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. Our last speaker is Mark. I think it's Bundy. I'm having trouble reading the last name. Mark from San Diego.
Just thank you for indulging me for just another moment or two, and I'll be out of your hair for maybe 6 months. I did want to address a couple of things that were brought up. You mentioned, let's see, it's got to be an on here somewhere. Right there, all right. Okay, yeah, I guess I can see that. You mentioned my arrest a couple of times, and Doug's arrest. The first time that I was here was last week, and at this meeting, you represented the fact that this ordinance had nothing to do with Scientology, and we could walk up and down the road all the way, except don't target homes. That's reasonable. I appreciate that. So that's what we did. We went out to Gold, and we were walking up and down the road, except the sheriff's deputy came out there and said, no. You can't walk past the driveway at all. You have to pick a side. You stand over there, you stand over here. No walking through. Now, I was a shop steward at Universal Studios when I first moved out to L.A. decades ago. And I walked with the Teamsters. The one thing I knew was, well, you can walk through driveways, you can walk through intersections, you just can't stop. You can't block cars, and that's reasonable. Nobody was doing that. As you can see here, you asked earlier about whether there's a place for people to walk. If you look in this picture here, you can see there is a bit of an easement there between the turn lane and the curb. It's my understanding that the property up here on the curb with the flowers, that doesn't belong to Scientology. It's public property, but they planted the flowers, and I would never step on those flowers. I think they're lovely. But you can see they also turned on the sprinklers as we were approaching. So you can see me walking a little bit out into the turn lane there at that moment. But the arrests happened in this area right here. I had come out here to take a picture, you know, the person, and I'll be done momentarily. I took a picture of the person who actually arrested me, Kathy Frazier, who is a PR person for Scientology. And this is what the arrests are. It's PR. They want to say we're dangerous. I'm dangerous. I'm not. I work in TV news. I have an Emmy. I'm not dangerous to anyone except exposing the truth. So Doug was standing over here where it's clearly public property. I was standing here because Kathy was talking to the sheriff, and they brought out their top international PR person, Tommy, what's his name? Tommy Davis. Tommy Davis handles all the big network shows. The BBC had him on to handle a big flap there. So this is the first time I've seen their international PR guy, and he and the sheriff and the local PR person decide I'm to be arrested. So that's the explanation there.
Thank you,
And
sir.
quickly.
Time's just
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. We are going to adjourn now to closed session.